Hello and welcome to PPC Live, the podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And if you're used to hearing from PPC experts about how to ensure that we're keeping up with the ever-changing landscape, don't worry, you're still in the right place. And every week, I speak to a different PPC expert about their biggest F-up or just a big mistake that they've learned from and how they turned things around, how it did not stop their career in any way. We share the positives and the negatives and just literally the big lessons to ensure that you do not make the mistakes as well. Today, I have the delight of speaking with Amanda Farley of Aimclear. She's a CMO there. And even though she's a CMO, paid search, Google Ads is her first love. So she knows about the issues that we PPC marketers definitely face. Even though she mostly leads the marketing team now, has led them successfully through winning several awards as you'll hear about. And she speaks about an issue that really affected her whole department and just how with, a steady head and a calm mind, she was able to steer her team into the right direction. So yeah, let's go speak to Amanda. Amanda, welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. Super excited. Good way to kick off the new year.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like I felt so lucky and privileged and sometimes as most of the most successful things in our lives, every once in a while we're just winging things. Like at the beginning of this year, 2 weeks ago, even 1 week ago, I didn't know I would know I'd be interviewing you. And I just love that our industry is just so full of like great names, and we have meetings and different things. We're having a chat for the programming call for X that's going to be happening. And then, yeah, when I saw your thumbnail going down, I was like, oh, we need to have Amanda on the podcast. That's how it came to my
Yeah,
mind.
that's so fun. I love getting to hang out with all of you guys. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I saw the article that came out this morning, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, it's like speaking to my heart today, talking about the integrated stuff, which was a lot of what we talked about on the call. So that was cool.
Yes. Yes, exactly. We're always trying to think about that integrated way of doing things. And yeah, before I go too much further and people are like, Anu, introduce us. So Amanda Farley is a multi-award winning marketing leader and CMO at Aimclear, a Midwest-based agency renowned for its US Search Awards wins. She specializes in integrated marketing, but I love the way she was saying, like, or just before we press record, that she's a T-shaped marketer. So that means she loves the integrated approach, has experience with like social programmatic PR, but her deep down is Google Ads, PPC, which is why she's a perfect fit for our podcast today. She's got a proven track record of driving results for B2B and B2C brands, scaling businesses, e-commerce ventures, non-profits, and multi-location providers. Under her leadership, Aimclear has earned numerous global and US awards, including Integrated Campaign of the Year, Best PPC Campaign, Best Use of Data, and etc. And she's a sought-after speaker, across national and international conferences like SMX London. I love that we met in person for that one, as well as SMX Advance in the US, as well as PubCon, Engage Marketing Conference, etc. And outside of work, Amanda enjoys time with her children, painting, sailing, yoga, and supporting Detroit K-12 schools and local nonprofits. In terms of like interesting fun facts, this is one of my favorite parts of the conversation. Yeah, Amanda was saying about how for like 5 years, with imposter syndrome looming from the sounds of it, you owned a gallery, not realizing that you're an artist yourself, a gallery and a tattoo parlor. So tell us a little bit about that. How was it that you were surrounded by such amazing talent, but didn't realize that it was all within you as well?
Um, yeah, it was such a good lesson on limiting beliefs, right?
Mm.
Like I only wasn't an artist because I thought I wasn't.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and like many artists, when you're going through tough times, like it's an outlet, and it was just like a really good way for me to be able to connect and move through it. And it's something I do with my kids a lot now too, but I've done like probably 400 paintings since then. But I had that, definitely that chuckle of like I have surrounded my entire life like with creatives, like home, work, like friends, everywhere. And I'm like, I only was an artist because I thought I wasn't. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my fun fact.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And and look, you're now CMO of Aimclear doing amazing work. And we never know. Sometimes our biggest struggles is our brain. I remember like I think it's from my brother I heard this quote, but it's like a Muhammad Ali quote that says that the fight is lost or won even before he enters the ring. It's like it's in his head, it's in his mind, like how much you either believe or you don't believe. And of course, a lot of preparation, but a lot of how much you believe or don't believe can be the thing that makes or breaks you when you're in the thing that you're about to do. So yeah, well, let's do this. It's been you are, I feel like you're such one of those people as well. As you mentioned that, you love tackling issues. So I can't think of someone better to share how you tackled a previous mistake, because this is what this podcast is all about, sharing our mistakes, but not just stopping at what the mistake was, but how it turned, how you turned it around. Like you're the CMO of Aimclear. Obviously, it didn't stop your career in any way. You made it through. And it's really important that everybody hears these kind of stories, because it can make us, some of the mistakes of our junior years can make us feel like, okay, that's it, we're one and done. But it really doesn't have to be like that. So yeah, I'll hand it over to you now, Amanda. Please share with us what effort would you like to share with us today?
Yeah. So, I would use the word lessons, right? Like lessons
Yeah,
learned. Um,
yeah.
because I personally like to approach the world in general that everyone kind of comes in with like the best intentions. They're doing the best they can with, the information they have at the time. And it's really like sometimes we just get in our own like silos or whatever, and it's like we don't maybe have like the full picture or whatever it is. So like um, so anyways, I always just like assume best intent for everyone. Because I just feel like that helps me get to solving problems faster too. Like it's like, okay, like no malicious intent, like what's the goal? Where are we going? What's broken? What happened? And I think in PPC, like there's so much of it that is outside of our control where it's like system side issues, right? It's
Mm,
like it's like, okay, this this just all of a sudden got disapproved, or they like shut the ad account off, or just all of the 3 AM, we start getting a bunch of spam bots in for
yeah,
whatever reason and then now we have to go through and like, we've got to, client, we've got to communicate, we've got to like go through support, try to get credit back, like all those things that happen. So a lot of times it's like when those things happen, it's like, okay, what in our system that was it that missed it or in our process?
yeah,
Like, how could we have caught this sooner or seen it ahead of time?
yeah.
What backup things do we need to put in place?
Yes.
And because it's changing so fast, it's like all the time. And I think one of the most just top of mind, and again, I can't even say mistake because I think all the intentions were there. And
Mm,
but you come together on a new campaign initiative with a new brand, and we were working on go to market, and this was global work. And you have that conversation as the agency and the brand of like who's going to do what, right? So like we'll handle this, you guys do that, like so and we think we've got it figured out. Well, fast forward, there's always the plan and then what actually happens. And I think that exists in every facet of this industry I've ever experienced. Like, so it's like you kind of almost have to plan for change anyways. But in this example, it was like, oh, we've got siloed departments, which is not uncommon, where, tracking's handled over here or MarTech stuff's over here, websites over here, right? There's all these different like pieces. And we're getting ready to launch. We're supposed to be making like new models and we're studying the data to be able to do that. And all of a sudden, like every pixel just breaks on like every channel. And our team's
okay.
like, hello, red
Yeah.
flag.
Yeah.
And and it was like, oh, we're working on it, from the brand side. And like we're like, okay, still broken. Like day later, 2 days, 3 days go by.
When was it supposed to go live? When was the campaign supposed to go live?
Oh, they were already running.
Oh.
Everything that's running. Everything.
Okay.
So, like, the PPC marketer in me is like, because I'm the one who's gotta like, even as, like, CMO, like, when I come in on any brand work at all, it's like, "What's the return?" Right? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"We're burning money out of a window." Like,
Yeah.
as a collective group, not like because when I work with a brand, like, I look at us as a collective team, right? Like, we all
Nice.
have the same goal. So, like, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." And, so yeah, a week goes by and I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Who is they? Who do they report to? Or do I need to call somebody? We are 7 days in. This is
Yeah.
every channel, every channel.
Wow.
And, so my poor ad ops team, they were just like, I'm driving blind. I have no idea.
Drive. Yeah, we have
We're
no idea
driving
what's coming
blind.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh my gosh." And then come to find out it was like a third party vendor that was handled by, again, 6 whatever silos over.
Yeah.
So we ended up just saying, "We can't wait. We can't wait. We just gotta."
Yeah.
So we were able to jump in, work with their team and, like, actually help, like, fix and install everything, and then, like, in that process, we uncovered a bunch of other things. So it's like
Okay. Okay.
and, in PPC right now, that's been the and it's so funny because it's like, it's not new, but, like, the
Yeah.
weight it carries in the results has
Yeah.
just increased in weight of that, like, data foundation and that architecture of, like, how, everything is talking to each other and learning because these machines need that clean data to be able to, like, operate and
Mm.
be efficient. And it was way more messy than we thought it was gonna be, so it was wild. So yeah, we had, like, global that was, like, not happy about timeline being off, right? Because 'Cause they're like, "We're supposed to be working on this," and we're like, "Love y'all. We can't worry about that right now because we're,
Yeah.
like, dealing with this huge thing over here," right? So it's like now it's like, okay, we have to have these conversations. I ended up, like, flying to New York for this one too, like, where it was,
Wow.
like, to, like, meet with the client because it was like, okay, because not it wasn't just about this piece over here, there were other elements that we were working on as well, that
Mm.
everything was held up because of
Yes.
what was happening over here. And it was wild even in the unpacking because what they thought the project was gonna be versus what it actually ended up being were just so vastly different.
Okay.
So I'm just pulling in resources like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I need this like, you're the best at this, can you help me with this piece?" Right? We're just
Yes.
like but we're just working together to work it through, and, it always it reminds me of that, like and I always forget, like, the technical name of the framework or whatever, but it's like the building, forming, storming, performing. It's like the steps of, like, building a team.
Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
this
I
was the
don't know.
storm. This was
Yeah.
the storm.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
like and, so it was wild. But we pulled it together. I mean, we hit new product launch timelines. Like,
Yes.
there were times where, like, some of their team was like, "Get on flights," and I'm making the call, and I'm just like, "Okay, like, we need to just make the call and do this if we're gonna hit time." She's like, "Okay, go,
Yeah.
go, go, go."
Yeah.
So, like, it was those human conversations that really helped too. Like, I think that's, like, an
Nice.
important piece. Like, yes, it's technical work, but we are still managing with humans. Um
Yes.
and we hit timeline, and we freaking exceeded our goals by, like, a lot, like, a lot.
Amazing. Okay.
So it was I mean, in the end, it's really the case study of, like, when, unexpectedly things go wrong for
Yeah.
whatever and there's so many people involved, right? Like, so it's,
Yeah.
like, it's hard to say, like, um, blame one person or say this was, some one person's mistake. It's like, no, like as a collective group, we missed. Even in the like, where do we miss? So now thinking about like, what do you do next? It's like, okay, what do we miss in the onboarding process? What are those things that we need to put in place to make sure that we get validation earlier on so that we can see this coming a little further out and say, hey, stopgap, um, just to help everyone. Because at the end of the day, like, with anything I've ever done in marketing, honestly, it's like we come in to help achieve a goal. Like, I would never want to work and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be able to achieve it," and like not be able to do that. It's in everyone's best interest to like achieve the goal we set out to do. So, um, but even on the PPC side of like,
Mm.
I helped write up new operating parameters, like learning periods, right? Like,
Yes.
hey, just because like how long should you wait before you analyze results? What do we need to make sure, like all of these little things that now with the way machine learning works and AI and all those things, like to make sure that like there's just clarity in the expectations. Like that there's pieces of this like um that are we're going to operate to best practices, we're going to do all these things, right? And we're going to like work together, but at the end of the day, like I was talking to one of my senior ad ops team members this morning, and she's like they implemented new account settings. Like this was like I don't know, like within the last like 7 days or whatever. But there was like new things that were automatically opted in that
Mm.
and her and I go way back, so, like and she actually used to, like, work on the channel side, so, like, she knows, like, some of this stuff, right? So it's like, we know to, like, double check, like, count settings stuff all the time, but it's like,
Absolutely.
come to
Yes.
find out, like, "Oh, this new one just rolled out," and that's, like, on a bunch of stuff, and, like but so we have to always be, like, cross-checking and, like, validating and quality controls, and so, even when people are asking, like, the human side of it, it's also, like, us against the machines in a lot of ways, like
Yeah, it can be. It really
yeah,
can be.
and I think that's why as PPC marketers, we've always been so collaborative as a group, it's
Yeah,
like,
it can be.
um, because there's, like, this, like Google doesn't really tell us.
No.
I mean, they
Well, that
kinda do, but it's
they
pretty vague.
kinda do. The
They
SEO folks are always fighting because I've got loads of like fun SEO friends, and they were like, I know at least paid search folks, they do, you guys, you get told like, what gets disapproved. You get given the guidelines of ad copies and policies. We don't get any policies. They just go do it, and then we don't see the traffic, and we're like, we wonder why, and it's just because of a whole bunch of things. And yeah, so yeah, I do understand. I do agree with you that we've become a lot more collaborative, but I think it's more recent. It's not always been that way. I don't know. I don't know how you see it on that side of the
Yeah,
pond,
but I think
because
it goes back to, like, I think about, like, old school PPC chat, like, I was on PPC chat, like, back when it was just, Twitter,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
like,
Twitter and Julie Bacchini.
Twitter
Julie's
saved
still
my
doing
butt
that.
so many times,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and then, like,
yeah,
conferences, like,
yeah,
I'm like, "How'd you
yeah.
figure that out?" And they'd be like,
Yes,
follow the instructions backward," and I'm like, "That's real life story, by the way."
pretty much.
And,
But
like
like, talking that, like, going, because I think our PPC folks, what they've been used to hearing is like hearing a lot of like landing page Google ads, technical issues that have gone wrong, of like landing pages not put up right, or the wrong max CPC being put in, the wrong bid strategy. Because I know you don't, you're not in the Google ads account on a daily basis, at your level, but like, what used to trip you up? Because that's a very fair point. It's like PPC chat really helped us. What used to trip you up a lot? Would you say one or two, one
so
thing that you
what
remember? Yeah.
So actually, I do roll my sleeves up still because that's how fast these channels change. So like
Yeah.
when there's new things like whether we're onboarding and auditing, and obviously I always bring in like my senior ad ops too, but like uh in this industry, as long as I've ever been in it, like any title or leadership has actually never saved me from having to go into channel and like do things like ever.
Wow. Okay.
Um, obviously I work with my team that's in the like day-to-day management, like
Yeah.
what are you guys seeing and those critical thinking conversations and strategic conversations. But like you'd be surprised how much I roll up my sleeves. Like I really do, which is wild. But I just believe that's what it takes. It's kind of like that it's the more on that servant leadership, philosophy is like sometimes you just gotta jump in the
Yes.
trenches. Like when we dig it
Yes.
out together, we'll figure it out.
But
Yeah.
what's one thing about Google Ads that annoys you in terms of how to get things done? And what's one thing that is easy to get wrong?
I would say like on like what I see the most on account. So there's like I would put this in two buckets. So most common, like we onboard. I always do an initial like audit pass, and what I see is basic settings,
Yeah.
like things like that are just like why are we targeting the whole world, or like just things that just don't make sense, like don't make
Yes.
sense, like
Yes.
in the settings, in the very foundational setup. And then second to that is how the data is actually integrated. So like what audiences are pulling in, what conversion are we using, enhanced conversions, right? Are we okay if these first party audiences are, where did these come from? Who owns that? Like, so many times I see where, brand side, and again, all good intentions, like, "Oh, that's the email team that handles this thing, and they sent
Yeah.
us this list to import," or whatever, but it's like, "When was this last updated?
Yeah.
What does the learning feedback look like?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, your CDP lives over here," and that's like it's wild, like, how much I find just in that area of it, where just better hygiene makes a ton of difference, and that's before you even get to, like, like, okay, how do we actually wanna, like, go after market? And then there's, like, segmentation versus control, which we could have whole conversations around that.
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah.
that hygiene layer I see is, like, it's just such a critical piece, like, if you do that part to
Wow.
best standards,
Yeah.
you have you're gonna see much better results, like, and that's not even talking about the landing pages and the website experience, which I know is a whole
Yeah.
other piece.
Yep.
Which is how I became an integrated marketer to begin with, right? Because,
Hmm.
um, I do think my psychology background also, like, lended into why like, 'cause intent, right? Like, I love setting
Yes.
an
Yes.
intent.
Absolutely.
And I actually came in as a writer on the SEO side, and then I got into paid, so I kinda naturally did
Huh.
this, like, little arc,
Yeah.
and then I went down into paid, but you start to see, like, we're driving all the traffic, but nobody's converting, and it's like, "Oh, well, the website's bad." Then you're like, "Oh, well, these leads are junk." Okay, well, where are these going? Who answers
Yeah.
the phone?
Yes.
It's just all those things, and the next thing you know, you're, like, in this end-to-end
Yeah.
conversation, right? Like,
Yep.
that's why PPC is my deep, but I've had to go out because, like, we touch everything somewhere in the
Yes.
mix. Like,
Yeah.
so anyways.
But in terms of like, okay, I'm very impressed that you've not even touched yet on the whole how people now act into whole AI, every AI update and all the AI kind of stuff. How much of the whole AI conversation uh, is a lot of fluff, and people, are we focusing on the right things, or are we over exaggerating how hard or easy this thing is to get into?
Yeah, so I think in some areas, some things harder to be honest, because you have more like just the breakthrough. You have to like to break through the noise, right? With everything
Yes.
that's happening. One of the things that I've really seen winning right now from a PPC side is I look for intercept opportunities.
Okay.
So I look
Yes.
for how the consumer journey has changed.
Mhm.
What channels are they using, right?
Yeah.
So if they're ping pong, it's like a ping pong ball, like,
Yes.
uh, so it's like, okay, they go from social, they go to, maybe they use Perplexity, then they use Google. Like they still end up in that ecosystem. So sometimes what you think would normally be your top converting words or whatever aren't necessarily like that's not necessarily true anymore because the entire customer journey had changed. How
Yeah.
they're interacting between the channels. So from a
Yeah.
paid perspective, I look for the lowest hanging fruit intercepts that like not everyone's honestly looking for, which is great. So like that's been really cool. So I would say as like a PPC marketer, like I would study how that actual like what part of that process are they doing on what channel?
Yeah.
And then like how do you just intercept along that journey? So if it's like we're gonna run, maybe like because obviously I get into like social paid as well, but it's like maybe this sort of social hits, right? Or
Mm.
remarketing or YouTube is something that continues to be a growing piece of the mix. Like
Yes.
and it's always been there, but like when I think of like how brands invest, like it was like it's like a side it was like more of a side conversation, right? It was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we're running some YouTube." It's like it was like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's like it's coming to be like way more part of the conversation and getting more investment dollars, which I think is
Yes.
awesome. But that goes into like video content too. Like
Yes.
I think creative assets as much as, they want to automate certain stuff, it's like, yeah, but like have we had a human look at this? Like so for example, I I actually told my dad I was gonna bring this up today.
Okay.
Because it made me laugh because I was like, "That's exactly it. That's exactly it." So I was, like, pulling the sugar out of the cupboard at my house, and it's, like, rock solid, and I'm like, "Isn't there, like, a trick to, like" and I was like, "Hey, Alexa," I was like, "How do you" and she was like, "Put a piece of bread in there with some
Bread.
water." And my dad goes, "Yeah, but has Alexa ever had tasted sugar before?" And I was like, "You know what? That's it. That's it right there in a nutshell." Like, she's got some good tips, but has she ever actually tasted the difference, or is that the actual answer? I don't know. Like, even with
Yeah.
recipes, like, all those things, right? And so, obviously, this is just like a real world life kitchen example. But I think when we think about ads and really, which is a communication mechanism with our customers
With
and our
customers. Yeah.
audiences.
Yeah.
So, like, has has a human that like, have they looked at it and experienced it, and, like, how do they feel about it? Like, how does the human
Yes.
in that process feel? Because
Yes.
if we're not considering their perspective in it, it's going to be very challenging, I think, to make that, like, bridging connection. Um, and I don't know if you ever tried the sugar trick, but it did make me laugh because I was like, "Put bread in there." I was like, "I don't know." It's like, "Is that gonna make it taste weird?" I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of that. I've heard of that trick of like some people like on social media somewhere kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like when we think about like how the app like that's also why the data I think is so important on the hygiene
Yes.
because so much of performance is like audience signal intent based. And if you're porting in data that's, I don't know, 6 years old or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
however long it's been in there, like your your ads aren't working also because you're probably not talking to the right people because you don't have the right data signals in place to be able to tell the system which people you're actually looking for. Which goes back to the like, which humans are we even telling them that like this is what we want to, target or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, and what do you feel like? What's your advice to people for like 2026? For what people should be testing out this year.
So I think for 2026, I think that um I think this year really is there's gonna be a little old school, there's now new school, where it's like, you can't be afraid to get out of the box and do something different and
Mm,
try something out and see what works. There's
mm,
no rule book for where we're at
mm,
right now.
mm.
Like, and, it just reminds me a lot of the early days of, like, there was there was no there was no training on this stuff, right?
No.
Like, there really was not. There was, like, not really even any books written. Like, it was, like,
Nope.
us figuring it out together, so it's like,
Yes.
don't be afraid to test. Don't be afraid to also, like, phone a friend. Like,
Yes.
"Hey, I'm running into these things. I'm thinking about like, what are your thoughts?" And you would be surprised, like, how much just, like, asking and leaning into your community can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
And then also sharing, like, I also have that, like, philosophy of, like, give more than you get, and it kinda all comes back
Yes.
to you, right? Like, I always do that, like, from a just, like, human helping lift up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it always does. And, like, there's more, that's why I feel like it's been more collaborative, and maybe that's just because of, like, the all the friends I've made, like, the friends I've made over the years, right? But, man, like, I would say, if you're looking at in channel, obviously, like, everyone's talking about AI Max and, like, all that stuff. But,
Yeah.
like, so I'm talking to my team, I'm like, "Not yet.
No? Why not?
Just not good quality that we've seen yet today." So,
Okay. So you have tested some of it. So it's not
yeah.
necessary, but yeah, you've tested some of it
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, okay, no, not yet.
Not
Can you
yet.
please?
And
Yeah.
there's some places where it's safe, like, you have ugh, and it depends if you're internal or
Of
agency
course.
side. On the agency side, sometimes you have brands where you have more room to play
Mm,
and try stuff out. I think that's, like, super important. Like,
yeah.
and especially where you're like, "Hey, I can carve a percent for," because I always try to get brands to put at least a percent of budget towards, like, just test, like, separate tests anyways. Um, and then we kinda bake that into, like, the overall, like, data modeling usually that we do. But, um internally, it's like, what do we have to lose? Like,
Mm,
if we like, is it really gonna impact things? Is it gonna be so bad that, like, it's gonna like, there's ways you can test this stuff where it's like, yeah, if we learn something and it says, "Okay, this didn't work," or, "We need to think about this differently," um, okay, then we've got that, and, like, it's back to the drawing board. But, like, so what? Now we know, and we're gonna make smarter choices, like, as we move forward. Um, but yeah, that would be my 2026, like, lean into your teams, communities, and, like, don't be afraid to test. And some stuff's just not gonna work out the gate, like, it's
yeah.
just not. Like, it's okay. Like,
No, I was gonna, and I think I'm pretty sure I mentioned that I'd love to also just talk a little bit about the whole theme of this podcast. It's talking about mistakes and talking about how things could go wrong and mentally preparing yourself for it. And in my personal opinion, it starts with leadership. It starts with how frazzled a leader gets when a mistake happens. And um, I'd just love to ask, what's your advice for managers in terms of how they approach mistakes and talking about mistakes with the people who report into them so that people are not scared to test? You've just advised that we should test, but if you're scared of making mistakes, you might not do any testing. So what's important that leaders should, what are the conversations? Why these kind of conversations? Why is listening to this podcast important so that people know that, okay, mistakes can happen, but it doesn't mean the end of the world. Why is this kind of things important?
yeah, so I think a lot of it comes down to, really, well, knowing you're the barometer of the room, right?
Mm,
So, we can't always control what's happening, with, external things, the systems, right? There's all this stuff. So, like, but how we respond and how we engage with the teams, makes a huge difference. And I
yes.
think there has to be authenticity in those conversations as
Yes.
well, right? Like, um, and also, like, the education around, even if a mistake has happened, okay, let's look at this together to figure out, um, what is it actually, before we have that, like, gut reaction, like,
Yeah.
emotional response.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, "No, that was, like, on the, you know, feed side, that has nothing to,"
Yeah.
right? Like, 9
Yeah.
times out of 10, when any of my PPC team has called me and they're like, "I can't figure this out. Results are not working." And I'm like, "Well, have you looked at this? Have you looked at this?" And they're like, "Yes, yes." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Have they made any changes to their website? Was there any
Mm,
changes to the checkout page?" So I
yeah.
just start asking these questions, right? And so he was frazzled when he called, because
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" And it's like, no, no, no. They did a huge update and did not notify the PPC team, which is what happened.
Mhm.
So the entire checkout process and everything tanked. And it
Yeah.
was like, so even being that like not always taking that like, oh, that's like let's make sure we investigate too and like do that in a calm way to understand where it's coming from sometimes. But then also sometimes you have to jump in and just like get to the solve and then do retrospective later, like that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. I think with leadership for me, I try my best to always be the breath in the room, like to the best of my ability, and also be just like authentically human sometimes to say, I know this is really hard. Like,
Yeah.
I was on a call this year with a product team. So this is not brand side, this is product side.
Mm.
Um, and they're working on fixing new stuff that's coming
Mm.
and nothing's working. And my team, I mean, we're there for feedback and help. And my team's like, no, like this is all wrong. And you could just feel the panic, right? And I was like, and there was just like a moment where I realized I'm like, oh, I'm like, so I just took a second and I was like, hey y'all, like, I know this is really hard. Google's like breaking down in real time. Like, and so much of this, and I know you guys are working on this super hard, and I just want to acknowledge that, and that we have like the same goal, and it's okay. And like, you just kind of heard the whole room go,
Nice.
and then
Yeah.
people start talking about their dogs and, like,
Yeah.
other things, and it's like, "Okay, cool." Like, it's yeah, it's not a, we're in it together, so it's like I try to bring that breath into the room and, leave space, for issues are gonna like, I don't know, issues are gonna happen, like, I've never whether that's, like, the website going down, like, I was thinking about SMX Advanced, like, do you I don't know, if you remember this, but there was, like, an insane amount of websites that went down all at the same time, and we were, like, all in the same room,
Wow. No, I
and I
don't
was, like,
remember
sitting
that.
with and I was sitting with my friend Ray at Demand Sphere, and, like, he's sitting next to me, and I'm like, because 'cause I've known Ray for years, like, way, way back, and I'm, like, taking a break at his booth, and, like, I'm getting emails, I'm like, "Oh, man, this is" I was like, "Oh, it's the whole site. Oh, it's the" and he goes, "Oh, no, 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 this is bigger than that. All of these sites
Nice.
are down," and, like, all
Wow.
this stuff, and, like, if I wouldn't have been sitting next to Ray but if you went to the media channels, as in, like, traditional, like, even the tools and stuff that host this stuff, they're like, "Oh, we didn't see a glitch at all," and I'm like, "Bull."
Mm.
I just saw it go
Lord.
down in real time,
Oh
like,
my
I don't know, I was
god.
next to
Oh
my
my
friend,
god.
but, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Oh
wild.
my God. Well, that's amazing because I love that story of just being the breath in the room because it makes people more productive. When you come out of that state of panic and someone can just help you calm down, you can think of something that just makes you feel lovely and calm. You become more productive. You start thinking about the solution and you work a lot swifter, which I think is absolutely great. Amanda, this has been such a great chat. We're coming to the end of it now. You've given us so many amazing nuggets. I hope people bookmark this and really pay attention to some of this great advice that you've given us to what has happened, in your past career and what people should prepare for this year. But yeah, finishing it off on a totally non-PPC, just a really fun question. If your PPC career, or if your marketing career were a movie, what would the title be?
Oh.
Let's get an insight into how your brain works.
Oh, that's hmm. Yeah, it's like, I don't
It can
know.
be a movie
If the
that you
Tasmanian
like, or
devil
you
could do yoga
the Tasmanian devil can what?
if the Tasmanian devil could do yoga.
Amazing. I love that. You know what? That is such a very great depiction because we all know what the Tasmanian devil is like. Oh my God, that's hilarious. But yeah, that being able to do yoga, that brings a bit of peace into his chaos. Because
Yeah,
Tasmanian devil is
it's chaos,
ridiculously
it's chaos.
chaotic. Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for that, Amanda. That's been such an insightful chat. If people want to follow you or just hear about, the kind of stuff that you share, where can people find you in terms of platforms?
So, anything marketing related, obviously Aimclear is a great place to go. And then also my LinkedIn for direct is perfect. So
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Amanda. That's been such a great chat. And so
yes,
yeah,
yes, it was so good to catch up. And
amazing.
see you in June.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely be at SMS Advance in June, which will be so much fun. Love it.
Sounds good.
All
I'll talk
right.
to you soon.
Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye. So thank you, Amanda, for that very great retelling of that story your team went through, and also even different little anecdotes. If you guys were paying attention, it's not just one story that Amanda gave us the advice on. It was several stories that she baked into that. And yeah, she is just someone that brings a bit of a lovely fresh air and, calm, which is what is a manager's job to do. When your team is panicking, be the person that calms people down and leads them towards the direction of path of a solution so that you get out of the situation that you're in. So yeah, for all the information and the full transcript and show notes of that episode, please go to podcast.ppc.live. You'll get all the details about that fantastic chat. Now, I don't know where you're going to be listening to this. If you're listening to this before Thursday, 5th of February, 5:30 p.m. There's still time for you to come along with us to join us at the 19th iteration of PPC Live, our PPC Live 19 that is happening about around like Liverpool Street Station. Strategic Q company are hosting us. They that their offices are where Dragon's Den was actually shot, the first season of Dragon's Den. So it's going to be a historical moment. I've got a new outfit for it. Of course, me and my red. I'll definitely be there with a lovely red Asian style outfit. I am so excited for it, and yeah. So if you have time to come and join us, we'd love to have you. But if it's too late, I imagine that it might be for those who are listening after the 5th of February, or just you've made plans for Thursday evening already. I understand. Put April 29th. We're going to be in Brighton for our next event for PPC Live 20. We're going to be out in Brighton just before the day before Brighton SEO. That's happening from the April 30th. So yeah, we're going to be Brighton April 29th, and just go to ppc.live. There'll probably be tickets available regardless. There'll be a save the date option for you to do. So yeah, save that date, put that in your calendar. If you can't make February 5th, join us on April 29th, and that'll be fantastic. So before I leave, I'd love to also share that, I do coaching now. So if you just need some support with, your mindset, you just need support with the challenges you're facing, confidence, want to get speaking more, want to get into speaking, want to get into, asking for that promotion, asking for that pay rise, want to have the confidence to do that, let me know, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you go through that journey and know exactly how to approach that situation, something I've successfully done very recently. So would love to help you with that. So go to themarketinganu.com and you'll be able to book a free session with me so that we can discuss the issues that you might be facing and how to get through it. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Bye.